walls on both sides. What's going to happen if there is walls on neither side? When I say a wall, I mean to say the wall that you are imagining. But we're going to introduce a seawall. A seawall means either mamish, the sea or a river comes up until a city and they built a wall, a straight wall down. Or we're going to learn about the case where there's a sea where we are presuming that at one point there is a drop, as we'll explain, that goes down very, very steep. Guys, we learned this in Shabbos Daf Kuf, that if you have an incline where when you walk for only 4 amas, you went up or down 10 tfachim, we view that incline as a vertical, as a wall. So many times by the sea, even if there's a gradual descent, even if there's no mamish wall, but if it's very steep, it could be considered a wall. So there was a seawall on one side, and on the other side, there was a garbage heap. Now, a garbage heap is also something, it's not mamish a straight wall, but they pile up the garbage so steep that when you walk for 4 amas or less, you already go up 10 tfachim or more, also a wall. Can you count these as walls? And as we'll show, God willing, the pictures, would that mean that all you need to do is put in the front a lechi? It's not shaykh to put a koida technically, because you have to lean the koida on top of something. Here, there's nothing to lean it on top. We're going to learn another case where you have a chatzir, which is similar to the mavi mefulish. Not a mavi, a chatzir, that on one side of the Rishus Harabim goes straight into a chatzir. There's a chatzir on the other side. There's a Rishus Harabim on the other side of the chatzir. What do we need to do to be allowed to carry in that chatzir? Does it function with the same rules of a mavi or not? We're going to be learning a case called a mavi ha'asui kinadol. There's a little creature, a little bug that's called a centipede. It means it's a skinny little worm, and it has many legs coming out from the sides. So we're going to be learning about a case where there was like a main mavui, and that mavui enters into other smaller mavuis with other details, which will clarify exactly what needs to be done to be allowed to carry in the main mavui as well as in the side mavuis. We're going to learn a case where the mavui that's touching the Rishus Harabim is not touching it exactly at the same place. One wall of the mavui goes more into the Rishus Harabim than the other. One wall is long, one wall is short. For all this, guys, when we have pictures, it will become clear. Question is, exactly where do you put the koida? Can you put the koida at a diagonal? And finally, at the end of Daf Ches Amud Beis, we're going to learn the source of the machlekes that we already had on Daf Daled Amud Beis, and that is, are you allowed to carry under the koida, or are you only allowed to carry in the mavui up until the koida? That's a machlekes. When it comes to a lechi, everyone agrees that you cannot carry opposite the lechi. You can only carry inside the area of the lechi. All of this, my friends, again, is really, when you see the picture, it will become very clear, and we'll be able to understand properly every single scenario that, God willing, we will learn today. So, Chevra, again, we are in Daf Ches Amud Aleph. We are in the last word of the Amid. You have to get into the mode over here. So again, as the Gemara began on top of this Amid, Ulamai desalkan adatin meikara. Yesterday we learned at the end of Zayin Amid Beis that really the statement that we have from Rabbi Yehuda in the case of a mavui that opens up into a chava, that opens up into a Rishus Harabim, could also go according to Rav. But now, Lamai desalkan adatin meikara, we're learning no, that there's a machlokes. That what we learned on Zayin Amud Aleph in the bottom is only in the name of Shmuel. It's Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. The case of a mavui chatzir Rishus Harabim, which is the case of Zayin Amud Beis, is only in the name of Rav. And even in a case where they made an eruv, and therefore there is no issue, as we explained, of a parutz b'meloy l'mekayim ha'asur loy. And guys, we're going to review this case again today. Don't worry. Nevertheless, there can be a machlokes between Rav and Shmuel. That Shmuel will say you are allowed to carry in the mavui, and Rav will hold you're not allowed to carry in the mavui. Now, what will be the machlokes? Everyone agrees that when you have a mavui mefulash, just putting up a koida and a lechi on one side, it's not enough. It's not enough to be allowed to carry in the mavui. There's actually a machlokes that we learned between Rav and Shmuel, what needs to be put up on the other side by a mavui mefulash. Right, we learned that Rav Paskins like the Tanakama, all you need is a Tzuras HaPesach. Shmuel Paskins like Hananya, like Basil, all you need a Delis. Avada, not enough, just a Lechi or a Koyer. The question is, do you consider this a mavoi mafulish? So says the Gemara, even when there is an eruv, there could be a machlokes. That's one way of looking at it, and they will be arguing regarding the rule of Rabbi Yosef. Now, Daniel Hassan, doctor, we need a picture. The Amar Rabbi Yosef, loishanu means where is there a machlokes? No, that's not the picture. Nish. Where is the machlokes? Go to the next one. Is Ella shekolol emtzarachava? No. That's we're gonna need this number 2, but we need one. Okay, that's fine. Well, if you can go to an earlier picture, that would be better. Let's see if you can go to an earlier picture. And you know what, Daniel, leave it up, save it. Guys, look at this picture. Look at one nekuda. When you look in the back lot, right, even though there is an opening from the back lot into the Reshus Harabim, however, at least the opening doesn't go fully to either side. There is a little bit of a wall on both of the sides. By the way, this picture doesn't even put the opening aligned with the front opening. We're not there in the Gemara yet, so don't focus on that. The Maila is that you can consider the back lot closed. You know why it would be closed? Unlike the front, guys, look in the front of the Mavui. It goes straight from the Reshus Harabim in the Mavui. If you're standing in the Mavui and you're looking at the Reshus Harabim, there is nothing impeding you going out into the Reshus Harabim. There are no sidewalls. Masha'inkin in the back lot, when you're standing in the back lot and you're looking to the Reshus Harabim, the back wall has a little bit of wall on one side and a little bit of wall on the other side. That's why Shmuel will hold it's considered closed. And since it's considered closed, so the Mavui is not called a Mavui Mefulash, it's a Mavui Sasum. That's why Shmuel says on Amud Aleph that all you need to do is exactly like in the picture, have, let's say, a Lechi or a Koira, and you're good to go. Rav disagrees with this din of Rabbi Yosef. Rav disagrees with that. Rav holds, I don't care that there is a little bit of a wall on either side, in the back wall, in the back lot. I don't care. There is an opening there. If there's an opening there, it's called a Mavi Mefulash. If it's a Mavi Mefulash, that you cannot carry in the Mavi just because you have a Lechi in the front. It's a Mavi Mefulash. The Mavi doesn't go directly into the Reshus Harabim, but it goes into the back lot, into the Rechava, or in the case that Rav spoke out, it was a Chatzar. Same thing now. It goes into a Chatzar, which goes into the Reshus Harabim. That's number 1. Avol, now go down into the next picture. Avol kol litzidei Rechava. But if even the back wall, oh, very good. That was the picture that we were talking about. Now goes to the next picture. Let's scroll down the pictures. Let's see, we got the right one in a moment. But when you're coming to a case where the back lot doesn't have on its back wall a little vant on both sides. That was the picture that Omri put up yesterday. That it goes straight, one side goes straight, This is mamish like with the pictures. Guys, if you can remember, no, Mishnah, not completely off. You already, Daniel Hassan, doctor, you had this up today already. In one of the pictures earlier, you had that up, then Asr. Asr means even Shmuel will be Maidan that when you, if in the back lot or the back chutzah, if that area that's breached, very good, that's it. You see here, guys, look at this. Here, you see the back wall of the back lot is only one side has a wall. The breach goes on one side, it leaves a wall, and on the other side, there's no wall, right? The back side of the house is the wall. Here, even Shmuel is Maida, this is called a Mavi Mefulash. Makes sense. And therefore, it will not be, you won't be allowed to walk in the front Mavui, even though there's a Lechi, because this Lechi only works for a Mavui Sasu, not for a Mavi Mefulash. Weiter. Now, Amarava, guy 7 lines on the top of the Amid, Hada Amrat, that La'emza, Rechava, might add the words to Shmuel, is Muter. You know when Shmuel's even Shmuel, you know when he says it's Muter, only in the picture that we had up before. Which was the picture, doctor, that you had up before. Right? Not like this picture, where when you're standing in one Reshus Harabim, you can see straight through it. It has to be the opening in the back is not aligned with the opening in the front. even if there's a little bit of a wall on both sides, even if there's a little bit of the back wall on both sides, whether it is from the back lot, whether it is from the chutzner. Nevertheless, even Shmuel will be made that it's us. Now let's go right. Amar Rav Misharshin. Hold the Amrat. Nachadito. That Zeshleikin Neged Zeh. According to Shmuel, since you have in the back lot or in the back chutzner a little bit of wall on both sides, it's going to be mutter. It's not straight through. It's considered the mavi sasum. Loi amaron. It's only said. Now you can leave this picture. It's beside this, even though this is the wrong picture. Loi amaron elo rechava derabim. Leave the picture, doctor. You see the back lot? As I explained, the back lot, we're not calling it a chutzner. It's called it a chava because the houses in the back don't even have a door that open up to it. People don't use it that often. As we said yesterday, guys, that when you have a back lot, you do not need to make an eruv. In other words, you are allowed to carry there. There's a lot of milos of a back lot, which makes it less problematic for Hilchas Shabbos for carrying versus a chutzner. But there's one nakuda here. Why wouldn't people transform the back lot into a chutzner? Many people would. We live in LA. Real estate is very expensive. You don't stop leave a back lot. It means it's hardly used. There's very little access to it. Now, there's a simple thing. When you own your property and you don't have to consult and come to an agreement with anyone else, you change the usage of your property a lot easier versus if you own property with even only one partner, avada with more than one partner. There, I want to do A, maybe my partner wants to do B. So if the back lot belongs to the Rabbim, which means it's harder to change its usage, right? That's where we say, that's where Shmuel is going to be lenient. However, Abel Rechava the Yachid, if the Rechava, the back lot only belongs to one person, since it's easier for you to change its usage, and taka zimnim, the last narrow line, zimnim the nimnachala, the owner will change his mind, and ubani lo batim, and he's going to build houses in there, and therefore v'havale kemavoy shekalola letzidei rechava. Now, what might you do? What might you do? Now, Danny, here you have to find the picture. Mamish gavaldik. Not this picture. Oh, guys, stop a second. You see the picture that's on the screen right now? This is where Shmuel said it's mutter. One of the criteriums was because it's not flush. Not flush meaning that in the back lot extends both to the right and to the left, right? It extends wider than the mavui, right? If the wall of the back lot going into the Rishus Harabim, even only on one side, would be aligned with the wall of a mavui, we said, then it would be usher to carry. Now, what's this? I'll be finding a new picture. If not, I can describe. If you look at the picture that's on this, no, that's not the picture. See, this is flush. You see this picture? Also not the picture. I'm going to have to figure out how to be able to manipulate the pictures myself. I think we're going to save a lot of time. But you see the picture that's on the screen? Shmuel will hold you're not allowed to carry in the mavri. Why not? Why not? There's a little bit of the back wall in the back lot. So we learned, leave it, Danny, leave it. Because the back lot doesn't extend to both sides from the mavri. On the right side in this picture, it's flush. It's completely aligned. Even if it does extend to both sides, even if the house to the right would be more inside the right, maybe you'll make your house bigger. Maybe you'll make the house bigger. You'll add something that will make it flush. And since you might do something that will make it flush, we already say it's as if it's already flush, and therefore even Shmuel will hold the asur. Gevaldik. Now, says the, see, well, like this, it's asur. Oh, very good. That's the picture. Now, do you see, guys, look at the house to the left and the back. You see the house in the left and the back? You see how they made us a little addition? You see that a little addition? That's exactly what we're talking about. Before they made that little addition in the house to the left and the back, then the back lot was wider than the mavui, not only from the right, also from the left. And the opening in the back is not aligned with the opening in the front. That is where Shmuel says you're allowed to carry, no problem. Now we're adding another detail. If the house to the left and the back only belongs to one balabas, and the back lot, the property belongs to one balabas, that means that he doesn't have to consult with anyone to extend his house. He can use up more of the back lot for his house. made an expansion, and if he adds it in a way, he might make the left wall flush all the way to the back, as you have in the picture. If it's flush all the way to the back, even though the front of the Reshus Harabim and the back of the Reshus Harabim are not in this, they're not aligned, the openings are not aligned, even there Shmuel is going to hold. This is the concept of Kol Allah L'tzidei Rechava, that it's called a Mavui Mefulash. You see it's a Mavui Mefulash, you go straight in. And Mavui Mefulash is not mutter only with the Koder and a Lachi. Okay. Where do we get this concept, the Shanilan, that halachically we differentiate whether something belongs to the public here? In our case, it's a Rechava. In other words, something that belongs to a private person, since he doesn't have to consult with anyone, we therefore change the rule versus if the same type of property belongs to more than one person. Now we need a new picture. Daniel, Hassan, doctor, that we have a Mavi. You always think about a Mavi, you see two walls. Oh, here we go. See, guys, imagine you're standing in the Reshus Harabim, great picture. No wall to the right, no wall to the left. It's only that the Chatzeiros are not adjacent to the Reshus Harabim. You have like a front area. It's not walled off, but you know what? Halachically, it is walled off. So to the right, you have a wall, you have a sea. Now again, either sometimes, you go to a harbor. Sometimes your mamish can have a wall. That's a wall. Other times you don't have a wall. You have a beach. You're walking down into the ocean. But we mentioned if the incline becomes very steep, as we explained in the introduction from Shabbos Daf Kuf, that's halachically considered a wall. And we don't need for Hilchas Shabbos for all the walls to be the same type of partitions. We can make one wall, one type of partition. The wall of the sea is a wall going down. Look at the left, there's a garbage heap. It doesn't have to be exactly right angled off the ground. It can be just a very steep incline. That's a wall going up. So here you have two walls. So the question is, can you simply put a lechi in the front by the Reshus Harabim? You can't put a koide, you have nothing to put it on. And amachaya, and now are you allowed to carry in the mabui? So what did we learn? And Rebbe didn't say one way or the other. And the Gemara explains why. He couldn't answer it because as it was right now, it was great. So why didn't he say it's okay? He was afraid to say that also. Either Shema Tinato Ashpa, maybe someone is going to remove the garbage heap. So everyone is used to carrying there every Shabbos. Not that you're going to remove it on Shabbos, but it's going to happen before Shabbos. People won't chop it, ruin the whole Hilchas Mavi. Or even if no one is going to touch the garbage heap, maybe sediment is going to come near the incline of the ground under the water, and it's going to diminish the incline. If it diminishes the incline, if you don't have a steepness where within 4 amas you go up or down 10 tfachim, it's no longer considered a wall. Okay, and now the Gemara says, hold on, it doesn't make sense. That Rebbe was afraid to meet Hashin Hashem Tinatul Ashva, the Hatanan. Guys, this is a Mishnah, Ashva b'Reshus Harabim. And if the top of the garbage heap is 10 tfachim high, which means that that if the Ashva's incline up is going to be very steep, the top of the Ashva has a din of a Reshus HaYachid, right? If it's 4 by 4 tfachim, if it's not 4 by 4 tfachim, it's called a Makim Ptur. And therefore the Mishnah says, we're going to learn more details later, that if there is a window open directly above it, even though the ground of the ashpa is in the Reshus Harabim, the top of the ashpa is the Reshus HaYachid. You are allowed to throw on it on Shabbos. Now, what's the issue? The issue is, why don't we say, maybe Shematinat al ashpa? The moment people are going to, even if the ashpa is not completely removed, the moment they make it less than 10 tfachim off the ground, then at best case scenario, it's a karmelis, right? If it's 4 by 4 and less than 10, and then you're violating rabbinically throwing stuff on it. Why do we have such a fear? The answer must be, of course, the Mishnah is speaking about a public garbage. No one has the right to remove the public garbage unless everyone agrees to it. Once you have to get more than one person to agree to something, you're not choishish. It's going to happen. Alma shani ben ashur l'rabel l'ashur l'yachid. Hachinami shani ben achad l'rabel l'achad l'yachid. Now that we mentioned this story, keep the picture up. The Rebbe was the one that didn't give up Sadin. The Gemara is curious to know, if you ask a Shaila to a Rav, whatever he says, yeah, good, not good. If he doesn't want to answer, you go to someone else. So we want to know, but Rabbanan, what did they paskin regarding the Mavi that we have up here on the screen? Seawall on one side, Ashma on the other side, is putting a lechi enough for you to be allowed to carry there. Amar Rabbi Yosef bar Avdimi. Hanam, that we learned in a Braisa that the Chachamim Aser, Pasha notes the possibility that there'll be a change, whether it is that the Yamul will have sediment, whether it is that people will remove the Ashva, is such a real possibility that we already say that now it's Aser. Amar Rav Nachman, halacha kedivre Chachamim. You're not allowed to carry. You can't rely on these walls. Another version, that this fear of there being a change is not even sufficient for you not to paskin. They paskin that's good. And on that, Rav Nachman is really not changing his opinion. Rav Nachman holds you're not allowed to carry there. Not like Rebbe that he didn't say Yasser, he didn't say Mutter, but he didn't say Yasser. Rav Nachman is paskin, you're not allowed to carry there. Says the Gemara, Mereimar Pasuk Lei. You can keep the picture up, even though there's a Mereimar Pasuk Lei L'Sura Be'uzlei. Mereimar, in the city of Surah, there was a Mavi with proper walls on the sides. Proper walls on the sides. Elamad, the back wall, what made him to a Mavi Shasum was the sea itself. Now that we introduced this concept that you can't count the seawall as a wall, you don't see what's happening under the water. Maybe it won't be that inclined. So he paskined, you have to put a net in the back. That was just a practical halachic wall that you can put over the water, a little bit into the water. That's your picture, very good. You see the picture in the back? You see the net? Because he said, if there is no sediment, if there is a deep decline when you walk into the water, then the water itself is like a wall, but you don't know what's happening. Maybe under the water, the water will bring up some sediment, some seaweed, some who knows what, some sand, and mitamo, the decline will be less steep. It won't be a wall, so he put up a net. Right. Says the Gemara, Mavi Akum, guys, remember, what's the din of a Mavi Akum? Machloikes Rav and Shmuel. We have to halk up over here. And what he did was, Karuch, Budya, let's find the picture, doctor. They put a lechi in the front, and at the bend, they rolled up a mat, and oisivulei ba'aki mimusei, a perfect picture. Now, if you remember, my friends, lekula alma, you need to have a lechi in the front of the mavi on this side, and you need to have for sure a koida or a lechi in the front of the other one. The only question is, do you also have to put a tzuras ha-pesach or a delis by the bend? That was the machloikes. If it's called a opened mavui, even if it's a closed mavui, you have to put a lechi in front of each Rosh Hashanah. Now the guys in the back mavui put nothing up in front of the Rosh Hashanah. So the ones in the front mavui decided, you know what? We're not balabatim what happens over there. We want to at least guarantee that we are allowed to carry in our mavui. So what are we going to do? So they rolled up a mat and they put it in the corner of the bend, and they are saying this is like another lechi. And with that, it was good. So the Gemara says, how does that resolve anything? Amar Rav Chizda doesn't make sense. They did something that appears not to be like Rav, not to be like Shmuel. Let's chazer the dinner. According to Rav, a bent mavi is called a mavi mefulish. And even though Rav paskins like the Tanach, you don't need a Pesach, but instead of having this rolled mat, Rav would say that you would have to put a tzuras ha-pesach over there, as we learned on 2 DAF ago. And tzuras ha-pesach boy. Oh, according to Shmuel, fine. Shmuel says that a bent mavi is considered a mavi shasum, which is taka why you don't have to put a tzuras ha-pesach, certainly not a delis, but the other edge needs a lechi. You need a lechi when you have a place from the mavi that's touching the Rosh Hashanah. Hanamili lechi ma'aliyah. Now they didn't put a lechi, the guys in the back mavi. So the people in the mavi here, the front mavi, they decided, well, we don't have the right to put a lechi in the front. We're going to put a lechi over here. It's like our front. Even if there's such a logic, put a proper lechi. A rolled up mat is so flimsy that a wind will blow it away. If just the wind is going to come and blow it, it's going to blow it away. So you're missing a lechi. Again, ideally the lechi should be the back mavli where it touches the Rosh Hashanah. Ideally. And if, okay, fine, they're putting up a lechi at the end of their alleyway, at the end of their cul-de-sac, but there has to be a proper lechi. So the Gemara clarifies that indeed, you're right, theoretically, if you just roll up a mat and it can be easily blown away, it's not worth anything. And therefore, even according to Shmuel, you would not be allowed to carry in the front mavli. However, if you put a peg in this roll, and you take this peg, notice the peg keeps the roll rolled, and then you insert the peg into the wall, then halachically, it is considered connected. And yes, this becomes a bona fide lechi. And that will be the chiddush. That even though the lechi is not by the Rosh Hashanah, the guys in the right mavui or in the front mavui, they are allowed to carry in their mavui only, my friends, only according to Shmuel. Because according to Rav, a bent mavui is called a mavui mefulash. And again, even though Rav is lenient by a mavui mefulash, it only needs a tzuras ha-pesach and a lechi, not a delis and a lechi, but it needs to have a tzuras ha-pesach. Okay, go for it. Amar Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba Amar Rav. This is back to the case in Daf Zayin Amadal from the top. Mavui that opens up into a chutzner, not into a back lot. The chutzner is a greater problem because if you don't make an eruv to the chutzner, which means that the people of the mavui may not carry in the chutzner, and if it's fully breached into the chutzner, it's parutz b'maloi l'mekayim ha'asur loi. Since the bnei mavui cannot carry in the chutzner, they cannot carry in the mavui. There's a chutzner, and then if it's a chutzner kenegdai, even if the chutzner opened up to the back reshus harabim, so the chiddush was that chutzner muteres and mavui is asur. So says Rab. Says the Gemara, Amalei Rabba bar Ula to Rabbi bar Abaya. Rabbi is Bibi bar Abaya. My Rebbe. I needed Rab for that. Very good. Well, not very good, but good. Now the picture. From the Mishnah, we extrapolate the same din. What does it say in the Mishnah? That's later in Shabbos of Tzadik Beis. Chatzar Ketana, Shenifrat Tzal. A great picture. The pictures make everything easy. Guys, take a look at the picture. Look how, if you're standing in the large chutzner, since you have on both sides, before you enter the small chutzner, a little bit of a wall, and let's go back to the rule we learned in the first Mishnah, if the opening is 10 amis or less, if the halal is not more than 10 amis, this is called a Pesach. So the people that are living in the large chutzner can say, we are in a four-walled environment. The guys that are in the back chutzner, here's also, again, there's a wall that's a wall for one side and flush. If you're standing in the little chutzner and you're looking into the big chutzner, you only have three walls, to the right, to the left, and to behind you. In the front, you're fully open. Now, the front yard is also gated up. If you did not make an eruv with the people in the front, that's the nekuda. So it's parutz b'meloi l'makayim ha'asur loi. Since they cannot carry in the front, they cannot even carry in the back. A Mishnah, gedoyla muteres, the ketana asura. Why is the small asura? B'pnei sheiki pischa shel gedoyla. In other words, like we explained, when you are the ketana. Right, if you're standing in the ketana, you're fully opened into the gedoyla. There's no wall there at all. So we already see that it could be that on one side good, one side not good. So I can extrapolate in the case of Rav, in the Mava Yasser, in the Chatzar Mutter, Amalei, so Rav Bibi bar Abaya tells Rabba bar Ula, no, Ima Asam Havamina, Hanamili, Heicha, Deloi, Kadarsi Barabim. The reason why, at least in the Gedoyla, you can carry, because the Gedoyla can claim from our perspective, we have four walls. And it's so easy to go from the Gedoyla into the Ketana, but who is going from the Gedoyla into the Ketana? Only the Bnei HaChatzer, very few people. So therefore, their going back and forth is not Mavatal the Mechitza. But in the case of Rav, what was the case of Rav? Guys, don't forget, you have a Reshus Rabim in front of the Mavui. Behind the Chatzir, you have another Reshus Rabim. It's inevitable, even if they're not aligned, people are going to make a shortcut through there. So many more people are walking through. Many more people are walking through. Guys, we spoke about it a little bit, right? That sometimes we say that Asur Rabim umavatli mechitzas, right? So afilu chatzah should also be Asur. So that's the chiddush of Rav that we don't say so. We don't say so, and this is important. You know why you don't say Asur without umavatli mechitzas? We spoke this on the above. If you are beginning with a biblical Reshus Rabim, and you want to put up some sort of mechitza to render a Reshus Rabim into a Reshus Hayachid, then everyone says Asur Rabim umavatli mechitzas. Which is why all the cities that make ERUVIN, before they use the Tzuras HaPesach, they have to first establish the city as a non-Reshus Rabim. If not, the ERUV does not work at all. Masha'inkin, in the cases that we're discussing, on a biblical level, it's already a Reshus Hayachid. Take a look at this picture, or the case that we're going to now. It's enclosed from all four sides, biblically.
Rabbi, I don't get the picture. Would you mind to explain it again? I didn't understand the four houses. It's not that clear in the picture, and I'm like trying to get it.
Don't view this as one large chutzner, even though it's fully encircled with four mechitzas. And Shlomo, don't get confused that there's an opening, because openings are only doorways. It doesn't take away the mechitza, right? So you have the property that you're looking at belongs to two different ownerships. The two houses in the front, they own the property that goes around the two larger houses. The property adjacent to the two back houses is another property. If no eruv was made between all four of them, right? That's the question here. We want to know whether they can carry in the chutzner or not. So the people—
Why not? It's the same chutzner. Why not?
Not the same chutzner. It belongs to different owners. The back belongs to the back two guys. The front belongs to the front two guys. They made no eruv chatzeres. They made no eruv chatzeres. For sure, the people that live in the front cannot carry in the back, because midrabanan they cannot carry from their chutzner that belongs to them to someone else's chutzner that belongs to other people. However, why didn't you say more than that? Since they cannot carry in the back, there's a rule, Shlomo, that if parutz b'meloy l'mekayim ha'asr, if you live in a property and it's completely open to another property in which there you cannot carry, then you can't even carry on your property. So the chiddush is, we don't say that. You know why, Shlomo? It's not parutz b'meloy. Why is it not parutz b'meloy? So you made good with your hands. Because for them, there's a wall on each side. The chutzner ketana, if you're standing in the back and you look to the front, there's no walls on that direction. It's parutz b'meloy. Since they cannot carry in the big, they cannot even carry in the back. Okay, leave it. Now, even this detail of Darcy.
Rabbi, the one that he posted now, that's the picture from yesterday where we said the chutzner and the mavli invalidate each other, right?
Very good. No, the picture that's up right now, that's where Raf said that you can carry in the chutzner. Same nekuda. Even the shelo yeru. Why? Because the people in the chutzner, it's not parutz b'meloy. Exactly, Danny. And the guys in the mavli in the front, from their perspective, it's parutz b'meloy to the chutzner. So forget about the breach in the back wall. Forget about that. You didn't make an eruv with the people that live in the chutzner in the back. Since the Bnei Mavli cannot carry in the back and it's completely open to the chutzner, they can't even carry in the Mavli. Okay. Why did Rab have to add it? Because to say that Rab says you can carry in the chutzner in the back, they do have a wall. But hold on, but people, you see, at the end of the day, people can go from the Reshus Rabim to they can walk through it. That's the chiddush of Rab. Still, the Bnei chutzner can carry in the chutzner. Tanina, the second to last line. We learned this also in Abraisa. Not this picture, Danielle. There's no picture. You don't need a picture for this. You don't need a picture for this at all. Forget about a mavli. It's just a chutzner. It's just a chutzner. Open in one side to the Reshus Rabim, open to the other side of the Reshus Rabim. And there's walls on each side. And the opening is 10 amas or less. Says the Braisa, as far as Dinei Tuma are concerned, right, remember, Safek Tuma B'Reshus Rabim Sfeikoi, we are lenient. If there's a suffix tuma b'reshus hayachid, then we're machmir. How do you define reshus hayachid, reshus harabim for that rule? Nothing to do with hilchos Shabbos, nothing to do with private ownership. Since everything is learned from the case of a soita, the meaning of a reshus hayachid means that there's only two people there. Like in the case of a soita, it's her and the man whom she should not have been even secluded with. The moment you have an area where there are three people there for hilchos Shabbos, it's called a reshus harabim. And by the way, that's a leniency. But the last line in the Amid, as far as hilchos Shabbos is concerned, says the Mishnah, says the Baraisa, the chatzid is a reshus hayachid. So you see from over here, even though two opposite walls of the chatzir open to a reshus harabim, which means there is the darsi barabim, it's not mevatel that chatzir from being a reshus hayachid. So once we have that Baraisa and the Mishnah of Tzadik Beis, the Rabbi is not adding anything. Says the Gemara, he still is adding something. Maybe the Baraisa is only when the opening in one side of the chatzir and the opening of the other side of the chatzir are not aligned one with the other. Daf Ches Amud Beis. I know everyone has a question in their minds. We'll get to that in a second. We just learned about this a moment ago. The top line in Ches Amud Beis. There, you might have thought that that law you may not carry in the chatzir. So comes along Rab and he says, in the case of mavui, chatzir, reshus harabim, that even if the opening of the mavui and the opening in the back chatzir to the reshus harabim in the back are aligned, you could carry. So the Gemara right away says, what did we learn today? Ulerabba fragt the Gemara that said clearly that even that the Amar zeh keneged zeh asur, even Shmuel would say zeh keneged zeh asur. No one will say that you can walk there. So how did Rav my moikila? It must be that the case of Rav is b'zeh shaloi keneged zeh. So weiter tarta lamali. We have a Baraisa and a Mishnah. What was Rav mechabesh? Answers the one. There's still a chiddush. If you only would have had the Baraisa, when the Baraisa says that chatzar has a din of a reshus hayachid, you might have understood it means a reshus hayachid lechumra. You know what lechumra means? If you're standing in the reshus harabim and you take something and you throw it into the chatzar, even though there's a breach in two walls that opens to a different reshus harabim, you would say lechumra and has a din of a reshus hayachid, and therefore you are machalol Shabbos. You made a transfer from reshus harabim to reshus hayachid. But to say that it has a reshus hayachid lekula to allow you to carry in the chatzir, abul letalkel emalai. So Rav wanted to tell you that it's a bona fide reshus hayachid. Gewaldik. Okay, moving on. Now comes the next fun picture. Very good. Leave that picture up there, even though it's not I don't see it fully in the screen, but it's good. It's good enough for me. Says, okay, Danny, can you move the picture a little bit to the left? I just want people to see that that there was a lechi in the front mavui. That's good, very good. Okay. Says the Itmer, few lines from the top, Ches Amud Beis. It's easy sailing from here. Mavui ha'asu kid nadol. Nadol is a centipede. Now I know that's why these pictures are so helpful. A centipede is a little sheretz that has a lot of legs coming out from both sides. Actually, we're going to learn the way the Rishonim learn that we are speaking about a mavui that has mavuis coming from it on one side. Really, we're looking at a mavui akum, but it's not your normal mavui akum. So you have the front reshus harabim that only has a narrow mavui, but if you can look at the picture on the left, that's already a big entrance. It's a much bigger mavui. And when you go from the left to the right, on the right side, you have other mavuis shooting out from the large center mavui, like the little fisalach shoot out from the centipede. Now, what did we say? Amar Abaye, this is the way you have to do. You make a tzuras HaPesach to the large opening, as you can see in the picture, and Vahanach Kulu, all the other mavuis only need a lechi or a kaira. Now asks the Gemara and Abaye. A very good, clear picture. Amar Rava, I don't understand. This must be like Shmuel that says that a mavui akum has a din of a sasum. I'll explain why. According to Rav, that a mavui akum has a din of a mefulash. What did we learn? Where would you need to have a tzuras HaPesach? Guys, Davav, the tzuras HaPesach would have to be If you look at the Rishus Rabbim in the front, and you have the lechi all the way to the right, all the way to the front, not that one, all the way to the right, Dr. Daniel, then at the end of the first bend, you would have to put a Tzuras HaPesach. That's what we learned right over there. You have to put a Tzuras HaPesach. So the fact that there's no Tzuras HaPesach over here to make this mavui closed is a raya that we're following Shmuel. Hold on. According to Shmuel, a mavui akum has a din of a mavui sasum. All you need is a lechi. Why would you need a Tzuras HaPesach in the big opening? Lovely Tzuras HaPesach. Question number one. Question number two. Hahu mavui akum tahava benardah, and we actually paskin the nardah that we should be choishes like Rav. Actually, they make kechumre kazed v'kechumre shozeh. There, they made you even put a delis. Remember that whole question. Elam Arava, this is not the solution. Go to the next picture. What needs to happen is, Oise Tzuras HaPesach lekulu lahagisa. Oh, machaye. See the picture? And ve'idach mishterei belechi ve'koira. Gevaldik. In other words, we are choishish l'Rav. And the only way you can make this into a bona fide mavui sasum is by putting up a Tzuras HaPesach like Rav. Now here we're not going at least we're not putting up a delis. But once you have this solution, now you can see that every mavui is a standalone mavui because of the Tzuras HaPesach in the back of it. And in the front, you only need to have a koida or a lahi. Right. Now we're going to have the following statement. It's interesting how in our Masayda, many Rav Kahanas were involved in this statement. Omar Rav Kahana bar Tachlifa. In the name of Rav Kahana bar Manyumi. In the name of Rav Kahana bar Malkiyoi. In the name, so we're going to go with the Bach of Rav Kahana Rabba. Another version, no, that came through three Rav Kahanas, different ones. Or that Rav Kahana bar Malkoi is, the last one, is Rav Kahana Rabba. I know, I'm reading it the way the Bach read it. Okay, what's the statement? We should see the Dr. Hassan next picture. You have two walls. With the picture. See the two walls from the Mavi going into the Rishus Rabbim. One goes more in than the other. In our picture, the one to the left is the long wall, and the one to the right is a short wall. So like this. If it's Pachus Ma'arba Amos, if there's less than 4 Amos between the depth of the wall one from the other, then you can put the koira ba'alachsain on a incline, and exactly, and any area beyond the koira is considered an area that you're allowed to carry for the b'nei mavu. But if arba amos, you can't put it on an incline. Elama, you have to do it. Elikeneged hakotzer. Elikeneged hakotzer will mean that the ear out exactly. So there's less area now for the B'nai Mavi to carry. Rabbi Amar, I don't agree with that. Even if it's less than 4 amas, and Rabbi went on to say, I'll tell you my reason, and I'll say the reason did who? Guys, that was the beginning of the whole Masechta, Mishum Heker. The moment you put it on a alachsain, even if it's less than 4 amas, it's not a heker. Why is it not a heker? Because once you have it on an incline, so people of the Rishus Rabbim are going to be walking so much under that koida that people won't even look up to see a koida. It looks like a Rishus Rabbim. You lose the whole heker. Since he holds that koida is because of the halacha of the mechitza, so what? So I don't care how it's put. Now, when we learned the sugyas above, we mentioned that l'kula alma, there is some heket aspect to it. It doesn't contradict to what the Gemara is saying over here. It's the ikir because of a heket, or is it ikir mitzad the halacha of a mechitza? If it affects a mechitza, then it's good enough. Now we have another Rav Kahana. Amar Rav Kahana. This is Gavaldik. Hoyel ushmaitza de Kahana he. You're quoted the din. This din of tzidei echad aruch with tzidei echad katsav. Since b'hashgacha pratis, it's coming to us the Messiah through so many Rav Kahanas. I'm also Rav Kahana. I want to add something to it. Rav Meir medayik b'shma. Eva b'mils. Hoda amra paniach hakoyda balachsoin. Another detail. Even according to the shita that says that if it's less than 4 amos, you can put the koida on an incline. Einoi ella she'ein ba'alachsoina yoyse me'esed. Guys, an opening. If the halal is 10 amos or less, that's the whole case of the Mishnah where a koida is enough. If it's more than 10 amos, you got to put a suras pesach. The first Mishnah that base. Now, when you put something on a straight line, it covers less space than when you put something on an incline, and it takes up more space. So he's saying that when is it good enough if it's less than 4 amos to put it on a incline? That is, if you measure the koida itself, it's going to still remain the koida of 10 amos or less. But the moment putting up the koida on the incline, the koida itself will be wider than 10 amos. Even though the opening, not on an incline, the opening of, if you only face the mavui and you look at the shorter wall and you look at the opposite wall in that same place, it can be 10 amos or less, but the incline will be bigger because the koida is the item that defines the Pesach. And any Pesach that's larger than 10 amos is a pirza. Guys, this is what we had on Daf Dalet. Now, a normal case, no pictures needed. Do you need, are you allowed to carry in the mavi under the koida, or only up until the koida? Machlokes, 3 on one side, 3 on the other side. Rav, Chia, Rabbi Yechanan say, and on the other side, Shmuel and Rab Shimon bar Rabbi and Rish Lakish, Rab Shimon and Lakish, they say, you can only carry in the mavi up until the koida. What's the argument? So lema, you might think that the hakam mifligim, the marsavar, the ones who permit, they hold koidas because of a heker, and therefore anything that's within the outer edge, you'll notice it's under a koida mutter. Umar savar, that the din of a koida is midin mechitza, and the havamin here is that this rule that we learn, that pi tikra yored v'soisem is only from the inner edge. So the wall closes you only from the inner edge and inwards. So the Gemara says, no, why? You can say both in both ways. Let's go. I mean, you can argue the kula alma koida mishum heker. Nevertheless, the Mar Savar here, this Mar Savar is the one who forbid it. The Mar Savar hekeda milagav, that you know when you see the heker, and especially if you want to give attention to whom? Whom do you want to remind? You want to remind the people inside the mavui, don't carry outside. So think about it. It's such a common sense word. When you are inside the mavui and you look up because it's not higher than 20 amos, what part of the koida do you see? Think about it. If you're inside the mavui and you're looking up, or naturally you see up, you're not seeing the outside part of the koida. You should see the inside of the koida. So therefore, you can only carry until the inside. You can't carry underneath it. Umar Savar Keda Milabad, and the other shita that says you are even allowed to carry under it holds that the heker is not primarily for the people in the mavui. The heker is for the people in the Rishus Harabim. Why do they need a heker? Because if I'm standing in a Rishus Harabim and I look and I see people carrying, I'm going to say, well, if they can carry, I can carry. So I have to remind, I have to chap, no, that I'm outside the beam. So if it's for me in the Rishus Harabim, again, when I look up, if I'm in the Rishus Harabim, what part of the koida do I see? The one facing the Rishus Harabim, the outer edge. So the outer edge is the heker. So the Bnei Mavi can carry under it. Beautiful. The Iba Yisema, the last narrow line, in other words, if it's midin mechitza, so we're using the halachic rule that the edge of the roof, the keilu goes down until the ground. And as we spoke on a few times, gudachis, gidoyim boikim boy, pitikra yored v'soisam. We don't care if people are walking back and forth. Oh, so the first wide line. So the Mar Savar chudai hapnimi yored v'soisam. This instrument is only from the inner edge. Push it. So therefore, once you go under the koida, you're not within the mechitza. Umar Savar chudai chitzen yored v'soisam. Says the Gemara Amar Rab Chizda, second wide line. Hakol moedim. Meaning, even the ones who permit carrying under the koira, they give more heter. However, the bein lechoyayim doesn't mean there are two lechis. No. Rashi says, in the mavois, where there's lechis, so you have lechi on one side. Can you carry in that area, right now we're going to the width, that the lechi is in? Everyone is moided that the bein lechoyayim on the side of the lechi, you can't carry, period. The only question is koida. And because koida, let's go with the last word, if it's P, koida, chudoi, yoyred v'soisem, then maybe chudoi achitzoin. Guys, we have a few more minutes. We're starting the last case. These are easy cases. Noats, we need a picture. Thank you, Danny, Dr. Dan. Noats, stay, you say this, when we speak about a koida, and many people here, should build ERUVIN, I know on Baruch Hashem, when they go over there, when they make a camp ERUV around the campsite. So one of the important things we always mention is that you put by the Tzuras HaPesach, you put the string on top of the koida mikan v'koida mikan, not from the side. Similarly, now we're learning about a koida. Everything we learned about a koida is that the crossbar is on top of the walls. What happens if it's not on top of the walls? What did you do? You took a peg on one side of the wall of the mavui. You took a peg on the other side of the mavui. The pegs don't go into the mavui ear space. The pegs protrude over the Reshus Harabim. So you have two pegs, and on top of those two pegs, like in the picture, you can see clearly you put a koida. Is that a valid koida? You say this, is it a good koida? So based on the sugi we just learned, this is so gewaldig, or malay, like this. The ones that allow you to carry under the koida, why do they allow you to carry under the koida? Because they said that the outer edge of the koida is what forms the mechitza. Guys, the outer edge of the koida here, since the koida to begin with is in front of the mavui, the outer edge is too far away from the walls of the mavui. If it's too far away from the walls of the mavui, it doesn't halachically partition off the mavui. Usher. Amazing. So the kula will create here a chumrah. However, l'divrei ha'oisen, why do they ask you carrying under the koida? Because they say that the instrument of the chudai yoyred v'soisam is the chudai hapnimi. Here it's a advantage because the inner part of the chudai, right, is actually touching the walls. So when you put it down, that halachic partition is taka touching both side walls. So taka you can't carry under the koida. Here they're going to hold it smutter. Amazing. However, Rabbi Amar, I disagree with that. That even ledivrei ha'oiser, even the ones that don't allow you to carry under the koida because they say that the chudai, that's yoyred v'soisem is the inner, here also it's going to be usher. Because there is a halachic rule. The halachic rule is the last line of the Amid. Be'inan koida al gabe mavui. We don't allow any cross beam on the top to be coming out from the sides, and here it's coming out from the sides, and therefore it won't help halachically. And therefore, rabbinically, it's an open mavui in which you may not carry. This machlokes, God willing, will be the machlokes that will continue in DAF test and tomorrow's share. That was great.
Shkoyach.
Or better than because it was a good.
The pictures were great. Thank you, Dr. Hassan. Very helpful.
Yeshakov, Rabbi. Thank you.
Guys, it gets easier. Don't get nervous. It gets easier. We're getting it.
Shkoyach, Rabbi.
Thank you, Danny.